think in the NFC, it feels like two teams can win the thing, right? If two teams can get to maybe three. I don't know. I don't know where you are in the NFC, but the AFC's.
Who's your possible?
I would say Eagles and Niners with the Cowboys is the possible.
I would kind of somewhat agree. The Cowboys were a possible, but I don't even know if I would consider them a possible moving forward.
Packers, or maybe I don't think they're at the level of the Eagles or the
I don't think
Niners,
the Packers
but
are going to make it
to the
I don't think
playoffs.
I don't think the Packers get in.
Really?
They'll lose either to the Vikings or the Detroit Lions. They'll lose one of these next two games.
All right. Well, but so if they don't make the playoffs, the Lions, they're not beating anybody big in the playoffs, are they?
Nah, the way Carolina they outmanned them. They just said we're gonna run the ball down your throats, as you said earlier, over 200 yards in the first half. No, I don't see the Lions beating the team, but I do like what Dan Campbell has done with Detroit Lions. I really do.
Oh, I mean, I think it's impossible not to. You know, they've still won 6 out of the last 8 games. They finish up in Green Bay. I mean, really, it comes down to if Green Bay wins this week, they play to get in next week, right? In Green Bay.
Week playoff game before the playoffs.
That's gonna be awesome. Awesome. Anyway, okay. So, but we would agree that the Eagles and Niners, those teams are such stacked roster. The difference, obviously, is Purdy's inexperience. Although Jalen Hurts has playoff experience, just not good playoff experience. But those are the two teams you think could get the Super Bowl, right? Most likely, it's a substantial drop off after those two. Is that fair?
I 100% agree with you.
Okay. In the AFC, it's a little different, right? It looks like there are 3 teams, and you and I are both agree that if the Chargers were fully healthy, maybe, but they're not fully healthy, and they're not yet in the playoffs. So, and then you have the Ravens, who they just figure out ways to win games, but no one seems to be impressed, even though they're playing without Lamar Jackson. Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. Do you put the Ravens or Chargers in that mix? I mean, that whole thing is really, really interesting because the Bills, they've beaten the Chiefs the past 2 regular seasons, probably should have beaten them last year in the playoffs. And then they have the Bengals, who have beaten the Chiefs, beat them in the playoffs on the road, and yet I still think that people have their most faith in the Chiefs because of Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes.
The AFC is pretty much what you prefer, who you like, your biases, to be honest with you, because you said the Chiefs. Okay. You said the Bills and the Bengals as well. Yeah, okay. I could see all of those teams coming out, and you speak of the Chargers and the Ravens. If they're playing their best football, they can just beat the teams we spoke of because they're that talented. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are going to be competitive in every game because he presents just a different dynamic than what you're used to. And speaking of the Chargers, as long as Herbert is under center, and Khalil Mack has played extremely well. If Bosa can get back and be himself, what do you do? And so the AFC, it really is a toss-up. Who can stay healthy, who can play their best football when it's needed. Before the season started, Doug, I picked the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles to be in a Super Bowl.
Really?
That was my pick. See, people I don't know if you know this. You know, the last 2 seasons, I've picked a Super Bowl winner prior to the season. And this is all documented on Fox Sports Radio. This is all documented. I picked a Super Bowl winner prior to the season. So this year, I had the Bills and the Eagles, with the Bills winning. I'm not too confident in my pick. Von Miller gets hurt, Josh Allen gets hurt, and Von is out. And so I'm not overly confident in that pick. But in the AFC, I literally can see 4 to 5 teams coming out. It's just a matter of who can stay healthy and who can get the ball just to bounce their way. Who can get a call that we're going to watch, which we know is going to happen, and say, how'd you make that call? Like, it happens all the time. Luck favors the prepared.
All right, so you're doing a little victory lap on it, and you're right. I mean, I look, most people when on my show, on the Doug Gottlieb show, we had on a ton of people, and everyone who went to the camp said the Bills appear to be a little bit better than everybody else, and that has played out.
I'm gonna be a homer, Doug. I'm gonna be a homer, to be honest with you. And I know it's tough to continue to get to the Super Bowl year in and year out, but if the Bengals are playing their best, who's gonna beat them? Now I know Lyle Collins is out now. He tore his ACL. That hurts because that offensive line was starting to gel and play better for the Bengals.
Correct.
But when you talk about, and we spoke of this in the first hour, or I did, coaching. You tell me a coaching staff that makes adjustments at halftime, like the Bengals coaching staff. They shut teams out in the second half, and they've been doing it now for a year straight, where they make adjustments at halftime, and the opposing team and coaches, they can't score. And so if the Bengals are playing well and they're healthy, you can't play them single high because Burrow is so accurate and the receivers are going to win. That defense with DJ Reader in the middle is going to be some really – and we could possibly see an AFC Championship game preview next Monday.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Bills, Bengals. And so they've already beaten the Chiefs, who you spoke of could possibly get there. They lost to the Ravens, but they play the Ravens again last game of the season. Football at this time of the year when you're playing meaningful games is nothing like it.
No, it's going to be interesting because obviously right now, they have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs for home field advantage throughout, but the back end of their schedule, as you pointed out, you got to go to Cincinnati. Tough. It is tough. Whereas the Chiefs, what they have left is Broncos at home, and then they go to the Raiders. Two teams who are, I don't know if the Raiders are not officially out of the playoffs, but unofficially out of the playoffs.
Can you recall a season like the Raiders have had, winning so many games just to lose them? I can't recall a season where I've watched a team have a lead in so many of their games just to give it up. I'm sorry, Doug. No.
I mean, Falcons fans will tell you that this year has been like a comedy of errors with the ways they've lost games. But no, the Raiders thing is what a debacle, right? Another blown lead, another loss after it felt like they had righted the ship for a while. Now they've lost 2 out of 3. They got the Niners and the Chiefs left. Good luck with that. Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how is the show this season? Not going all that well. I cannot recall one. I just can't. I can't recall one where a team lost that many games that you felt like they had won. It's one of the craziest things.